All right. Good afternoon. 6:30. So I want to be respectful to your time. So we'll start. My name is Arafat Mokhtar. I work at Stanford, and I'm a adjunct lecturer at Santa Clara University. Well, this meetup is mainly for people who want to know Python and how Python can be used for the boring stuff, I call that. And also, it's an introduction to data analysis using Python. So before starting with that, let me just make sure that the technology works. Yeah. So before I dive into the things that I would like to share with you today, I would like to ask Anas to tell you about the Magnimind Academy and what classes they are offering in that space.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our meetup workshop. Today, we will talk about Introduction to Python. And our instructor will be Arafat Mokhtar. He's a data scientist at Stanford, and he's also an instructor at Magnimind Academy. Before we start, I want to talk about our company, Magnimind Academy. We founded in 2015, and we've been teaching data science since that day. We have different programs, including machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing, and some beginner-level courses like Introduction to Python, Python for data analysis, SQL. Right now, we are accepting applications for our mini bootcamps. Those mini bootcamps are for 4 weeks, 12 hours, and they're part-time, they're convenient with non-business hours. And Arafat Mokhtar is the instructor of our Introduction to Python bootcamp and Python for data analysis bootcamp, which I assume he will mention later. With that being said, I want to announce Arafat Mokhtar with a round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So for this coming hour, I would like to tell you about the objective of the Python mini bootcamp. Then I'll tell you a little bit. I think the data science / data analysis is pretty much known to everyone these days. It's a buzzword. I'm sure people uses this word almost every day in different contexts. So there is kind of the terms data analysis, data science, data engineering, business intelligence, all of those, there is so much overlap between them. And everyone probably is focused towards one area of the data. How do you look at the data? How do you prepare the data? What information you can pull from data? And how can you communicate your findings from the data? Then I will probably put one slide here just to show the tools that it's used in analyzing data. Then I will tell you about Anaconda distribution, Python installation with the Anaconda distribution. Then I will tell you about the syllabus of the first mini bootcamp, and then the syllabus for the next mini bootcamp. And then I will dive with one example, probably it's going to take half an hour, to tell you how we can use Python in the data analysis space. Now, I'm going to show you probably a few examples. Please do not, do not panic. It's probably too much. So I want you to know, how do you see, I want you to see the bigger picture rather than the little details. So let me start here. The objective of this hour and even these bootcamps, mini bootcamps, is just to create curiosity around how Python can be used in order to expedite things, automate things, do the boring stuff with little time, because if you do the same thing over and over and over, it's going to be boring, you don't have the time, and then people get stuck because they're doing the same thing over and over and over. And then coding in Python, the assumption here, no one knows, you don't know much about Python, so this might be a little bit too trivial or too easy for those who code in Python. And then I will tell you how you can use Python for data analysis. Data science, as I mentioned, it's a field. It's pretty much new, probably 10, 15 years. But data is never new to the sciences in general. And every organization, every company, every place you go, they will look for data. Your phone is rich of data. Your car is a lot of data. Your credit card is plenty of data, and so on. So here are a few examples of data science products, such as, who would buy a specific product. You go to Amazon, eBay, all these companies, e-commerce, and you buy one product. Suddenly you start getting, oh, are you interested in this product? Are you interested in this product? There is a lot of data science algorithms in the background that they say there is a high chance that you might buy that specific product, and that's how they can make big money from the marketing. So you have more targeted campaign. So even a house price estimation. So there are so many features that can drive the price of a house. And again, there is an algorithm in the background that run a lot of data in order to provide an estimation for a price. Whether an email is a spam, no spam, there's again data science and machine learning algorithm in the background that can tell you what's the probability. We're talking about probabilities, whether this is a spam or not. And there's quite a long list of these data science products that might be, might be related to your domain. Even image/speech recognition. How when you look at your phone, a smartphone. I'm not marketing to any phone companies, but you look at the phone, and then it recognizes that this is the person who owns this phone, and that's how it's unlocked. All right, so. In general, there are so many Venn diagrams that you can find about what is a data scientist or what is a data science, but this is one which is really simple that I really like. You have the math and statistical model. These days, there is a lot of data, and everyone knows how to give an interpretation about large data set, because you're away from the small data sets. Now, some of the challenges, how can you give interpretation to smaller data sets? But anyway, this is the domain here in this circle. That's the math and statistical knowledge. The domain. Sometimes you don't know exactly your domain, but the math and the skills are really strong, but you don't understand what space you are in. This is very important. And this is also the computing skills, which how can you write code? How can you have an idea? How can you have a hypothesis, starting with a hypothesis? And from a hypothesis, you can test something and come up with a meaningful insight from the data. In an ideal situation, you need to know the domain, you need to understand the math and the statistics, and you need to write the code. So all these processes, from the data collection, to the data cleaning, to the data preparation, to the data analysis/machine learning, and through the data visualization, that's how you communicate your findings with your customers, no matter who is your customer. Could be your manager, could be your CEO, could be your student, could be even your son or daughter. Anyway, so it's very important to know all these components together and try to find them, try to combine them into one data product. Now, this slide shows some of the tools and the skills. It's by far, it's not complete, but this is some of the skills that many people are using in order to deal with data. And what I mean by deal with data could be anything. As I mentioned, there are so many jobs related to data. Just try to find data in the jobs. If you go to any Indeed.com or any of these websites, you can find data engineering, data analysis, data business intelligence with data, and so on. But for coding and scripting, there is Python. Why I'm putting Python there? The order doesn't mean much here because I'm a little bit biased. I'm also teaching R, so don't worry about it. I think Python, R, Java, C++, SAS, MATLAB, Stata, SPSS, and it's a very long list. So all of these can be used in order to collect the data, engineering, plotting, communicating, and so on. The business intelligence visualizations, there are a few tools such as Tableau, ClickView, MATLAB, Excel. We shouldn't forget, it has been in the market for a long time. Matplotlib, Seaborn, these are two modules that come with Python, and ggplot, which is, again, a library for R, and so on. Big data, I'm not talking here about big data. And there is a lot of confusion about big data. In my opinion, big data you can categorize something in big data if two things happen. First of all, if the amount of data cannot fit in a single device here. If you have 1 terabyte of data, or 3 terabytes of data, or 30 terabytes of data, you cannot fit them in here. That's one thing. The other thing, when the computation that you need to apply on the data, it takes so long. Just imagine you are going to one of the grocery stores, and you are trying to use your credit card, and suddenly you need to wait 5 minutes until the credit card transaction got approved or denied. This is not a good practice. So we need to apply all these algorithms in the background and give you an answer right away. Otherwise, the customer is unhappy, which we are trying to avoid, right? Anyway, so the big data, we have Apache Spark, Hadoop, Splunk, and it's a long list. Machine learning and artificial intelligence, with Python, there is one module, it's quite popular. It's called scikit-learn. It's widely used. There is Numpy, which is another module that comes with Python. NLTK, it's another module in Python. It's used for natural language processing. There's a TensorFlow and the Keras and PyTorch. Those all, artificial intelligence modules that you can use in order, if you want to become a machine learning scientist or machine learning engineer or artificial intelligence expert. Now, Python. Python is not a new programming language, but what's special about Python, you can use it for almost so many things except cooking, okay? So you can use it for developing web. You can use it for data analysis. You can do it for automation. You can do a lot of things with Python. Why I prefer to use Python? My rule of thumb is the following: use Python as when you can, and use something else if you have to. But here, Python, it's easy to learn. Even sometimes you read English, it's very descriptive. It's not, I'm not comparing, but Perl, some of you, I'm sure, they are, expert in Perl. Python is much easier to understand. The syntax is easy. It runs on all operating systems, Windows, Mac, Linux, all of those, not a problem. It comes with two major versions, Python 2 and Python 3. If this is the first time you are dealing with Python, I highly recommend that you start with Python 3. It's not because Python 2 is no longer maintained or supported. So that's that. And automation is the key in anything. Especially if it's a boring thing. If you are getting one file every morning and your task is just to combine, let's say, to come up with a master file, I don't want you to do it every day manually. Use this half an hour in something more fun for you at work. And in my opinion, this is your Python framework. This is the data, could be any database, and then do the data visualization here and connect it directly. And this is going to make your boring stuff much shorter. Okay. So as I mentioned, and Anas mentioned earlier, I am teaching here 2 mini bootcamps. The introductory to Python, which is going to be 100% Python, with a little bit of a hint on data. And the other one is data analysis with Python. So here is the syllabus for the first one. So I'm going to cover why Python, and then I will cover variables and strings manipulation, the data structures in Python, lists, sets, dictionary, and tuples, sorting functions, the if statements, while and for loops. How do you open and read and write files in Python, functions and modules, exception handlings. If you know at least one programming languages, this sounds like familiar. Okay. Now assertion and the corner cases, lambda function, which is very powerful in Python, and list comprehensions. The modules math, datetime, and OS, which stands for operating systems, and the sys, And finally, I will talk about regular expressions in Python, which is super, super helpful and powerful. In the second mini bootcamp is just reviewing the first probably hour or two, just reviewing Python common functionalities. And in this mini bootcamp, the assumption that you know the basics of Python, okay? And then learn the Python libraries, Pandas, Numpy, and Matplotlib. This is exactly equivalent to the data frame, if you like, in R, if you're coming from a statistical background. Numpy, it's really great if you are coming from engineering background. So you can do all the linear algebra in Numpy. And Matplotlib is the core of any data visualizations you can do with Python. Now we switch right away to data frames, the most used data structure in Pandas. Then how do you read data from Excel, from CSV, from text, from JSON, from. And then how can you even read data from the web? And again, automatically, you do automation here. Then once you have the data, how can you collect the data and try to clean it? Data engineering. How can you prepare the data into something that you can apply data analysis on it? As you know, most of the time that people spend, there are five free spots here, please. I can go to the next room. All right. So, so what I started to say here, I'm saying, you know, cleaning the data, it's about 3/4 of the time people are spending in data preparation and data cleansing. And this is very powerful tool. How can you manage the data, slice it, dice it, aggregate it? All of this can be done in one with one module or one library. Dealing with missing data, you know, if you are waiting for the perfect data, forget about it. You will never be in a situation where you are dealing with perfect data unless you are going to the lab, you are doing, you know, dealing with scientific data, and you have sensors coming, data comes from all over the place, and everything works. If that's the case, maybe you will be able to get a perfect data set. But as a person, you are dealing with human data, as an example. No way you can end up with a perfect data set. So in this bootcamp, we will know how to identify missing data, replace them, eliminate records, and so on. Sorting data frames. How can you have a data frame is pretty much like a table, like an Excel sheet, like a table in a database, in an Oracle database, or any other database. How do you leverage the apply function, the lambda function, the filter, and the map? How do you merge two data sets? Everyone knows, especially those who are quite familiar with Excel, how can you do VLOOKUP? The VLOOKUP, every time, if the data set are different, you need to do it again and again and again. And this is going to help you. How do you automate this through the merge and the join data frames by foreign keys? I'm saying keys, not key, plural. Learn pivot tables. This is quite famous. You know, a lot of the work we are doing every day, it's pivot tables. How can you do pivot tables with Python? And learn the data visualization. What are the things do you need in order to visualize data? Because sometimes if you have, let's say, thousands and thousands of rows, you can show the same thing in one graph, simple graph that tells the story. Because people cannot remember so many numbers. They can remember, you know, visually. They can remember the important things through a graph. Apply linear and logistic regression, which is really a hint into machine learning towards the end of that bootcamp. All right, so this is just a reminder here. If you would like to start diving into Python, I really recommend that you install Python through the Anaconda website. It's with an Anaconda distribution. Once you have that, you have Python 3.6 or Python 3, let's say, and you can also have the Jupyter Notebook, which is pretty much like your text editor. Now, why Jupyter Notebook? Because one of the things that you really like to do, you have cell, which has part of the code, and then you can see the result between the code. between the two cells of a code. Let me show you an example. I think, yep. All right, so this is an example. Can we take this? I can take it. Much better. All right, so this is an example of a Jupyter page. Now, if you wonder how can I start that, it's pretty much simple. So you could do that, and then you do Jupyter Notebook, and open it, and that's going to open a tab in your browser. That's it. So simple. And then you go here, just click Python 3, and now I have a new notebook. And now you see untitled. They will ask you to do, to give a name. Let's say good evening. Let's call it good evening. Or good afternoon. Okay, and rename the file. The file got afternoon as its name. Now, this is a cell. The cells, basically, there are 4 types of cells, but the most common ones are the code and the markdown. So when you see an N here to the side of it, this one here, it tells you it's just a code. I'm expecting to do a code. So when I do x equal 10 and run it, okay, not a problem. What's x, by the way? X is 10. All right. So if I say here, y equal x times 3, and then print, and then y, and you see it's just 30. Now, how do I execute a cell here? It's very simple. There are 2 ways to execute a cell. You could hold the shift and return, and that execute that current cell and takes you to the next cell. Now, if you want to execute it and stay in the same cell, look at this. I'm holding the shift key and the return. It takes me to the next one. It's executed this cell here and takes me to the next cell. If I want to stay here, as you see, this is just watch what's happening here. This is the blue side. If I want to stay there, I just hold control return. Control return. I'm still in the same cell. Every time I'm just running the same thing. All right. So sometimes you want to see probably the lines next to each line. So there are so many shortcuts, but the one of them is just hit escape and L. When I do a hit escape L, back and forth. I have the key, the line numbers, yes or no. Okay, so now if you want to try to create a new cell, or you know what, I don't want this cell. So you hit escape, and DD is just kills that, cut that cell. Now, do I remember all of those? Of course not. But as you see, there's a button here. You just click that thing and say, you know what, I create. Let's look for create. Maybe create. No, not create. Let's say merge. You see, there are all the options that you can do. Merge cells even. You can just remember all the shortcuts, but you don't have to do it. There are so many shortcuts that you can learn. Now, to execute also a specific cell, you could go in here and just run it. It's exactly the same. And so on. All right. Now, I had this question earlier. If you are coming from the Linux environment, so you could say, you know, what's the PWD here? And that gives you the PWD. You can run even a Linux command within the cell if you just add 1 exclamation mark. Now, if I want to go in here and say, you know what, probably I want to put this into a variable called x, not the same x, okay? So let's call it xx. And if you run it, oh, what happened to the path? The path is gone. Not really, because if you do x here, it's here. And by the way, this structure is called a list, because you see square brackets around this thing. It tells you it's a bracket. If you want to find what's the path itself, it's just the first element, which starts from 0, and you run it. It's exactly the same. Is this the only way how I can get the current working directory? Absolutely not. I will show you more other examples. Let me switch to this. This is just a notebook that I prepared for today's session. And let me show you a few examples here. Number 1, as I mentioned, if I define here x equal 15, you create 15 in the memory, and you tell x point to that place in the memory. Okay? Now print x times 3, and then y equal 100, and then print y. So always, if you don't show, if you just type y to the last line, it will print for you the value of y as the last, if it appears only in the last line. What I mean by that, if I do a z equal 100, now the y is gone. The reason is it understands, it prints it for you if it shows as the last line. All right, let's take another example. So v equals 70, b equals 13, x equal hello there, and print this is awesome. So all of this is awesome. Okay. All right, and that's exactly what I will do in the other one. Okay, let's try to do this. If I want to try to say, oh, one more thing. So as I mentioned, there are at least, well, the types of cells are here. So there's a code, there's a markdown, there is whatsoever, and there's a heading. Now, look at that. If I want to create a cell above today is, you hit escape, and A is, well, A, and that's how you create a cell above the current cell. If you want to create a cell below it, escape B, and that creates a cell below this one. So that's how I created this one, and that's how I created above today is. Now, what do we have in today is? This must be marked down, and there is no in with the square brackets right here. Now, as you see, to execute that, oh, okay, I understand. Now, look at that. The font is kind of large. If you want to try to make it smaller, 1, that becomes 2 hash signs, 3, getting even smaller, 4, and the 5th will make it italic. Oops, now it's italic, right? Okay, so now this is 1, and that's what you get in here. All right, so let's try. Echo, it's a command line with the Linux, Unix commands. So if I do here, if I do, so if I do echo, hello, and then it prints hello in the command line. So now if you want to do it with the, within Python, Jupyter Notebook, all you need to do is just put exclamation mark here. So echo, hi there, I'm going to sleep for 10 seconds. And then I put that command to sleep for 10 seconds. By the way, all these commands are Linux commands. Now, if you try to do it with Windows, you will not be able to do it unless you try to find what's the equivalent command in Windows. For example, echo. I don't know what's the Windows command for echo, or the equivalent one. Now, look at that. I'm going to put this in sleep for 10 seconds. As you see the star here, is working. It tells you that there is a process is running. After 10 seconds, it's going to stop, and it says, I'm back. As you see, I'm back was printed there. Okay? Make sense? All right. Okay. Now, any questions, by the way? This is not intended to be, a lecture. It's more interactive. So please feel free. Oh my goodness. I'm just kidding. Go for it.
Is Jupyter better or PyCharm?
Oh, this is equivalent to question. What's better, Honeycrisp apple versus the Granny Smith apple? It's up to you. But here's my, again, it's only my personal thing. PyCharm, if you want to go for production, so you have the code is ready, tested, done, gather all the pieces, put them in PyCharm and run it. Now, if you want something to test, absolutely Jupyter. Again, it's my personal opinion. You had a question before, please. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's a command line commands. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So you put an exclamation and say it's a replacement for the print?
For what?
Is it a replacement for the print?
No. It tells you that this is exactly, if I take this command here, let me do this. If you put, are you familiar with the shell scripting? So if you put everything, delete the exclamation mark, put it in a shell script, it will run. It's exactly the same. Okay? So all I'm saying, you don't have to switch between this and the command line. You could do it here, and it does exactly the same. There are several other ways to do it. Yes, please.
Can we use like a regular editor like VI? Why here we can see the result of the select?
You could. As I said, I mean, Jupyter Notebook, you can write Python scripts. You don't have to use Jupyter Notebook. You can use so many, Sublime Text. You can use Eclipse. You can use IntelliJ. You can use PyCharm. You can use anything. It's your choice. There is another one called Spider. Some people actually writing code in Spider. Spider is pretty much you can search it. Spider is if you're coming from the R Studio. Anyone familiar with R Studio? Yeah, R Studio it goes to Spider actually. So you see, you can divide your window into 4 pieces. Where's the code? Where is the terminal? Where is the history and the environmental variables? And you can show also the plotting, the visualizations in the same window, one window in the quadrants.
Also, you're going to local book 8892, which is your Mac book, right?
Yes.
You're naturally running the echo command, which is because Linux is supported.
Absolutely.
But if you are running on a Windows, then obviously this command will not work unless you have a Linux shell running on Windows, right? To have this.
Not sure. I'm not sure. But
that's why I was asking this.
I don't think there is a problem actually. Are you talking about the port?
No.
Oh, this would not work in Windows. Yeah, that's exactly what I said. You need to find what's the well, if you want to be really in the safe side, I wouldn't use none of these. I would use something within the OS module. And within the OS module, then you are not dependent on any operating system. Absolutely. But all I'm saying, because it's a Mac, and everyone, I don't know. I like Mac, and Linux, so this would work. This is just an example, not to tell you that Python is working primarily in Mac/Linux. Can work for all of those, and we'll show you a few other examples how I can get that. I don't want to confuse anyone, but otherwise I could show you the example how it works with all operating systems as an example. Let me start with this example. There is one module called Numpy. It stands for numerical Python. It's numeric Python. And then when you see as is just an alias. It's exactly the same. Numpy this time is called NP, and it's widely used as an alias to Numpy. Now I'm saying in line number two, I said my list. I'm creating a list, random integers from 0 to 100,000. I want 7,000 numbers randomly generated between 0 and 10,000 or 100,000. Okay. Now I'm saying, if you in line number 3, tell me what's the length of that list. Well, obviously it should be 7,000, right? And line number 4, I'm saying, tell me how much time it takes to sort that 7,000 numbers. And the moment you run it, this is exactly sorted. And if you want to try to time something, you start with %time and then your code. As you could see, the moment I run it, it says 5.68 microseconds in order to get that list sorted. Now, if you wanna try, probably in a smaller scale, and you can see it. Questions? Are there questions? Let me see. I don't see any questions here. What's that? Okay. I don't know. This is a question probably for you, not for me. Let me see. What? Oops.
You can drag it down.
I don't know how to deal with it. I dragged myself. Sorry. Here we go. Thank you. I lost my phone. Just one moment, please. Okay, so here, what I'm trying to do, you can answer that, Anas. So here I'm just selecting 7 numbers between this huge range. And if you want, I can tell you what are those numbers. So you could do print. I can do my list. And by the way, there's auto completion, which is amazing in Jupyter Notebook. I will tell you a few other examples. So this is my list, and then the sorted one, the result. The result is the sorted one. And then, as you could see, these are the numbers which are not sorted, and this is the sorted ones. Well, does it look sorted? No, right? Because actually, this is not the function that does it just show you the sorted, but not. Let me replace this here, and with that, and get it, and now it should be sorted. All right. Okay. So now, one of the nice things about the Markdown cells, you can create links to a specific, websites. So, for example, if I double-click on here, so I want to see what's in it. It looks a lot of things here, right? So sort is done. I mean, someone, especially those who are coming from the computer science background, you say, what sorting algorithm is Python using, right? So this is the answer. You can I just put the answer, then you run it. As you see, there's a click here, and it tells you it's a time sort, which is a time sort. I found that in here, and time sort is a hybrid sorting algorithm. You can read all the information if you are interested about time sort. Or strings. Python is amazing when it comes to string manipulation. So here, example, if I have 2 strings, hello and there, I can combine those, just to add a plus sign, and you can run it. You got it. It's just hello there. Now, if I want to say, Alex, did you know that today is? All I need to do, there is another module, it's called datetime, which is very powerful in Python as well. So the way to do it, this is a string here. This is line number 2, it's a string up to here. And then I'm formatting it, so Alex will go for the first curly bracket, and the other thing here goes to the second curly bracket. Now, if I say, you know what, tell me what's today, and as you see, today is, January 29, 2020. So now, if you could do now, and as you see, because I hold a second, I need to break the line here, and then not date, probably today, and then I don't want only the date, I want everything. As you see, you can run, this is the time as of now. So it's 7 o'clock, 7 minutes after 7 o'clock, and so on. And it's exactly that date with that time stamp. Now imagine I have a list of 4 names: Mary, Raj, Amanda, and Elizabeth. Now, if I want to say hi to everyone, or hi to each one of them, it's a for loop, which is quite simple. So you could do names. This is the list of these 4 names. And then for I in the range of the len of names, len, it gets you actually range the default, the starting from 0 and up to n, not including n. So it goes from 0 up to n minus 1. Okay? So here it goes from 0, 1, 2, 3. Stop. That's it. So here I'm saying print. Okay, this is again curly brackets, which is going to be the names of I. Names of I, when I is 0, would be Mary. I equal 1, it's Raj. I equal 2, Amanda. I equal 3, it's Elizabeth. And to run that, as you see, I get all the the name of the person in one line of code. Okay, now some people, they don't like to see this as a list like that. You could even, the print statement has ending. The ending here that I'm saying, I don't want to separate those by new line. The default would take you to the new line after each print statement. But here, you could say, you know what? I want dollars between these names. Or once I say hi, someone is paying me money, which is great, right? And then you run it. And as you see, hi, Mary, $, $. Hi, Raj, couple dollars, and so on. Okay, so you got that, right? Now, also you can be interactive in Python. For example, line number 1 here, it prompts the user to provide some number. I'm saying, say a number. Okay, well, let me show you an example here. So I'm creating that thing, x equal input name, and that's it. And you say x. So the way it's going to have here is create a box. It's still running. The process did not come to an end. If I say Alex, then Alex. Okay, so if I say print, and then hi, comma, Alex, and look what's going to happen. Sarah, hi, Sarah, and so on. As you see, this line here is just prompting the user to provide information. You say, what a big deal of it? Oh, it's okay, I can put it. Oh, sometimes you want to be interactive, talking with your code. So you say, okay, for example, find the maximum. You can write maximum, and then the code will do that. You need to build that. Or you could say, you know what, stop here or continue, and so on. All right, so this would be, you know, just say a number or guess a number if you like. If I do 8, now, if 8, it tells me 8 is even, which makes sense. The modulo 2 equal 1 means when you divide x by 2, the remainder is 1. I'm talking about integers. I'm not talking about floats here. Everyone understands what's the difference between integers and floats, right? Integers means whole numbers. Now, if the remainder after divided by 2 is 1, it's an odd number. If the remainder after divided by 2 is 0, it's an even number. So if I say, run it again, I'm saying 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 6, 6, 6, and 4, 3. This is an obvious number. That's an odd number, and so on. Okay, now here is a hint. As I said in the beginning, I'm not especially those who are first interaction with Python, might be a little bit overwhelming. I don't want you to see the details. I want you to see the bigger picture. So now here is an example of using regular expressions in Python. The module called RE stands for regular expressions. So imagine I have such a text here. $, Sam, some other dollars is a dollars, CEO at XYZ, and so many dollars, okay? Your task as a data engineer is to clean that string. How can you clean it? Well, there are several ways. The most elegant way is actually shown in this line here, but there are at least two functions here that can do cleaning to the string. Now, line number 3 is actually trimming the dollars from the beginning of the string and the trailing or the end of the string. So if I run this, let me break the cell. Oh, by the way, to break a cell at where the cursor is, just hold Control Shift minus. Okay. So now, if I want to print that, as you see, I got rid of this and I got rid of these. But this is not a good cleaning because I still see dollars here, dollars here. Now, the more elegant way is using regular expressions. How we can do that? I'm saying when you see a dollar, the slash sign, because dollar has a specific meaning. Slash dollar, I mean dollar. Yeah, I mean dollar, nothing else. It's not a meta character. And it's the plus sign means one or more. If you find dollar one time or more, replace everything with nothing. That's a replacement. And you apply this on X. And look what's going to happen. Now it's much cleaner. No more dollars in your string. Okay? All right. So in the coming 15 probably or half an hour, I would like to start diving into the data. As I mentioned, in Python, there is one very popular module called Pandas, which is really powerful if you want to do data analysis with Python. So here, I'm defining a data frame that comes with 2 columns, X and Y. And the moment you display it, and as you see, this is the data. And it becomes kind of tabular. I have 2 columns and and couple rows, the 3 rows. As you see, this is exactly the information I put here. Those who are familiar with dictionaries, this is pretty much dictionary. Each column is a dictionary. And why this is important? Because you can do a lot of data cleaning when you turn any data set into a data frame. Okay, let me cover something with list comprehensions. So in list comprehension, imagine I have such a list. This is the list I'm talking about. Mary, Sarah, Samir, Elizabeth, and James. I'm looking for any name that starts with a letter S, no matter what. Just give me a moment, please. No matter what, if it's uppercase or lowercase, and I want that name to end with an H. Okay? Yes, please.
Could you scroll that up just a little, very top?
This one?
See from here. Scroll it up.
Oh, I don't know if there's a way. I know. Where's that?
No,
Here?
no. To the left of your face, to the right.
To the left, to the left. This is my left.
Another one,
Another one here.
another one,
Another one.
another one.
Another one. Oh.
I
Reset?
don't know if that would work.
No.
Zoom it in a little more.
It's just is going to zoom more.
Do minus,
Not zoom, just go up.
zoom out.
There is no way. This is actually that's how it starts. Do you want to sit here? Sorry.
Difficult lighting.
Okay.
You can come over here.
You can.
That's all right. If you just scroll it up a bit,
Okay.
the
Is that any better?
scroll down. The
Down?
one you are-
No, no.
Up.
Yeah, up.
Yeah,
The
Okay.
one you are alluding to, if you could scroll it up so that
Sure.
some of these comprehensions go up.
Sure. I got your point. I got your point. All right. Okay. So thank you. So basically, as I said, I mean, there are 2, 4, 5 names. The problem I'm trying to solve is I'm looking for any name that starts with lowercase s or uppercase s, and I want the name to end with an H. Now it's simple. You could say Sarah. No brainer, right? But if you have a couple thousands of names like that, you need to write a code, right? So all I'm saying here, the way to do it, you say name for name in this list if all in one line of code, which is amazing. If the name starts, the name of 0 is the first character in that string. And then I'm turning this into lowercase, and I'm comparing it with the lowercase s. And there's an and here. Name ends with an H. And with the moment you run it, as you see, Sarah shows up from that list. Yes, please.
Why is it returning with square brackets and quotes?
Because it's a list.
It's a list of one.
It's a list of one.
And if you didn't want to see that.
Absolutely.
Content,
Let me show you. Let me show you the. So if now we know there are 2, right? It's Samir and Sarah, right? Samir and Sarah, and it's a list. And now, if you want to push this into probably my result, let's call it result. And then, if you want to know what's the type of it, type of res, and it says a list. Make sense? All right. Good questions.
One quick.
Yes, please.
So we're not defining the type of the variable.
You don't. You don't.
Depending upon the results that you're assigning the variable, you basically are doing the operation on the variable. The string, let's say you're assigning a list, if you're assigning a string value, then you are doing relative operations to that.
It will do that for you. It will understand this is a list, and if you put something in quotes, it understands it's a string.
So there's no static defined.
No, you don't. It's not like C++ or Java. You say float something. No, you don't do it. Yeah, the Go. I heard the Go. It does that, which I'm not.
What's the scope of the variable? How's the scoping of the variable here? Like,
You-
is it outside of
The moment you run it here, it's going to be understood everywhere afterwards. It remembers that. Good question. Good question. Let me just go back here and put that back again. And we said that the name ends with an H. Okay? Yes, please.
Why is the hedge in the brackets in this when you're writing a function over the pointer? Sometimes you're writing in the bracket and sometimes you're giving equal to. Why is
Oh.
that?
Okay, so let's talk. Are you talking about this line here?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically name of 0 means the first character in that name. We know it is a string.
Okay.
So I can apply this function to lower. In other words, if I go in here and say, you know what? Santa Clara, okay? Clara, I need just to learn how to type. And run it, it's Santa Clara. So now, if you do dot upper, not a problem, it will get you back again because it's converted to lowercase and then converted it back to an uppercase, lowercase to uppercase. And you say 2, what should that get me?
A,
It's an A, lowercase or uppercase?
upper.
Uppercase. And what?
0, 1.
Because 0, 1, 2. Okay, thank you. It's a Santa Clara. All right. So, and if you, what if I say -1? That's easy.
A,
It's the very last one. Again, if you want to go into string manipulation, you can have 2 things. You can start from a string. Let's say the string is alpha. This is 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this is -1, -2, -3, -4, and -5. You can go back and forth in the inside the string. All right. So let me just delete that. How do we delete a cell completely? DD, escape DD, it's gone. Now look at that. Now I'm saying if I have another list like 8 whatsoever, you see the numbers. I'm not going to see those, and you try to find which ones are divisors or factors of 7. So you could do num for num in numbers. If num, the mod after what's the remainder after divided by 7 is 0, and this is not surprising. You see that 14 and 49 are the 2 factors of 7. Okay, let's go back and try to say the following. I'm saying earlier, I said earlier, if I have df as pd.dataframes, and as you see, I have 2, this is the x, and then I have a list, let's say 1, 2, and the y is y. Look what I'm going to do in purpose. I'm calling this, the header of this column is space, 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 y, space, space, space. And then I say, okay, the values are AAA and BBB. And once you do display to get that data frame, as you see, that's the data frame. Do you see white spaces? Absolutely not. But now there are multiple ways how you can go and try to find the information of a specific column. What do I mean by that exactly? Let's hide this or comment. That's how you comment something in Python. And now if you do columns, the columns tells you that there are so many spaces here. How I can get rid of these spaces? Okay, so all I'm saying, we know there is a function. Let me just go in here and do df.columns. That gets you the columns, right? Which is a list. Now I'm saying, get me the name for name in df columns. That's pretty much is going to do the same. There's no much brainer here. Now I'm saying I want to try to get rid of the white spaces here. How can I get that? 2 ways. You could do strip this way, and then it's gone. Is that the only way? Of course not. There's always multiple ways. That's one way. The other way is doing it this way. You could do using regular expressions, right? So you do RE, sub stands for substitute, and I'm saying then if you see S stands for white, 1 or more, replace it with nothing on name. These are the 3 elements here. That gets you exactly the same. So to clean the white spaces, it depends. The easy way, if it's in the beginning or in the end. What's the difference between the two? If I have, let's say, VVV like that, this case still work. As you say, VVVY, which is not, this is the column name. Okay? Here, I was able to get rid of it. Now, if you go to the strip, you will not be able to get rid of it. Because if I do name dot strip, and then run it, it gets rid of the leading spaces and the trailing spaces, but not in between. Okay? All right. So let's assume that we are able to get rid of these spaces. So I basically would like to have a y and, oops, sorry, too fast. So that's that. And then I have xy. And now if you have a data frame, naturally to think I can convert any data frame into an Excel file. Okay? I'm pushing data outside, assuming the data is perfect at this stage. Now, how I can write this as an Excel file? All you need to do is just apply this function or the method, which says df, which is the data frame, to Excel, and this is the name of the Excel in my record here. Now, if you want to see what's that, if I do ls star not star test and then star.xlsx, well, those files are here. I can be aggressive. I can remove all of those. rm stand gone, and if I do ls again, oops, none of these files are there. Now, if I go switch back to the writing, I'm writing out those Excel files, and now it took a second. It took a second, and now list them again, and they are back again into my folder. Okay. So what did I do? I created a data frame, did something with it, and then I pushed 5 times into 5 separate files. You say, why do I need 5 files? Well, I will figure it out, because I want to combine all those files into one master file. But hold that question aside for a moment. Okay. By the way, if you want this, if you want to try to refer into a specific column, all you need to do is just df.x. And this is just object-oriented programming syntax. The notation here, df.x, it gets you exactly that column. Now, each one here, it's a dictionary. So in data frames, there are actually a series, which, well, in Pandas, there is a series and data frames. A series is pretty much like a list with an index. The index does not necessarily need to be 0, 1, 2, 3. I can define the index A, B, C, and I. Doesn't matter. Or this is one way to call a column, or this one way to call a column, which is exactly the same. Now, for some, if you would like to rename a column, that's even simpler. What are you renaming? You are renaming columns. So the X becomes X is X. That's a new name that I chose. And then when you run it, and you see that df is no longer, this was the df, right? X here. Now, later on, when I renamed that column to be X is X, I have X is X. By the way, just a tip. Try to avoid as much as you can white spaces in names, in file names, in column names, because white space sometimes it's just a nightmare. All right. So, okay, very good question. I love that question. So basically, you change it in front of you. If you want to go to the memory and change it into the memory, make it permanent, you need to put in place equal true. Not only that you see it in the screen, just go to the memory and change it into the memory. Make sense? All right, good questions. Now there's another module called glob, G-L-O-B. So this is amazing, actually, module. How it works, if I want to find all the Excel files that start with test files, something, we know it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want to combine all those into a list. And then the way to do it, it's you use glob.glob, and then you put that full syntax. And as you see, I didn't put 1 or 2 or 3. I put star there, and then it gets me a list of all the files that I have in that folder. By the way, if I say SXL SXXX, we know there is no such a files, right? It should get me nothing. Now, if I say XL star, and then I have the files again. Okay. So, but XLSX, that should get you those 5 files. Okay. Now, the purpose. Remember, I wrote out 5 files from the same data frame. I push them into the memory, where is my folder, and I want to combine all those files into one master file. And now this is the trick how to do it. You start with an empty data frame, and you start reading the files. How do we read a file, Excel file with Pandas? You do pd.readExcel, and the location of the file is just the path of the file. And then I'm asking myself, is the master file empty? If yes, then take the file that you already read and copy it into master. Otherwise, just append it. And when you run it, remember how many lines in our data frame? There are only 2 lines, right? And the moment you run it, as you see, this is a duplication 5 times for each 5 or 4? 4. Why 4? Because it was 4? Okay, I don't know how to count. Okay, thank you. So basically, as you see, this is the first one, this is the second, third, and fourth. Okay? Now, if you would like to check if any specific file exists somewhere, you can use the OS. This is not the only use of OS, but you can use the OS, the operating system module, in order to check if there is any specific file exists somewhere. So the way to do it, pwd, it's just the current working directory, and that's how I got it from the Linux command. Now, again, you don't have to do it this way. Actually, you could do it as os.get current working directory, which is this one here, and run it, and that should work again, exactly the same. And I'm saying result os.path.exists, and you put what is the full path of that file, and it tells you it's a true. Path exists, yes, it does, and you don't have to do. I mean, I like that more because it's it's not dependent in the operating system. How do you define a function or a method? Very simple. Start with DEF, stands for definition, the name of the function, and the inputs, and say, okay, this function is actually taking a name and say it prints hi name. And if you run that and say, okay, you know what? I don't want to say meetup, and then hi meetup. Okay. Oh, you had a question? Yes. All right. So you could also have it within a loop. I have the names Mary, Sarah, and Sam, and say hi because I'm invoking this method in that loop, and that's what you get. How much time do we have? Anas? Okay. Flexible? All right. Okay. So let me show you an example which I would love to share here. So you can also join or do VLOOKUP between 2 data sets or data frames. So in one line, you don't have to do anything manual. Once it's there, just run it, change the data as much as you want, and get the merge of the 2 data sets. So if I have in here, this is another data frame. This is the DF. That's a DF, and then I have another data frame DF1. So these are the two data frames, the upper one and the lower one. Please note that they have different columns. The naming of the columns are different. X1, Y1, and the other one is XX and Y. There is nothing in common, right? So here in this line, one line of code, you ask me to take it up. Oh, I forgot about it. So here That's how you can do a VLOOKUP, or in other words, the join in SQL or SQL terminology between these two data sets in one line of code. So how do you do it? The left, you want to join Y1 with Y. These are the keys, if you like, or the foreign keys between these two data sets. And this defines what type of join you want. Is it a left join, right join, inner join, full outer join? This can be done here with one word. And it does that for you for free. Let me show you what be the result. So these are the two data frames, this one and this one. And the result of the join is right here. And this is, in this case, is just the outer join. Now, if you want the left join, you just do left join and done. That's a left join, the result of the left join. Okay, yes, please. Of course.
The column XX, the value change, the representation changed to a float from above. It's not a float.
Awesome question. I love it. So here's the catch. I think it's one of the weakness points of pandas yet. Once you have in the column a null, it becomes float, not integer. That's which unless I totally get it. Yeah, it's kind of frustrating, but thank you for noticing that. All right. Other questions? All right. So pivoting tables, pivot tables. So imagine I have in DF, just to remind you, this is DF. No, not this one. I think we changed one. No, it is. It is. Imagine I want to do pivot table according to Y1. The values will be X1. Well, not really here, because I don't see anything that nothing to aggregate by Y1, right? Well, there is a way how I can do the BB to be AAA. Let's look how we can do that. dfy1 equals numpy where what? Where? df.y1 equals BBB. If that's the case, then get it AAA. Otherwise, just keep it as is, df.y1. And now when you try to say df, as you see, this gone. It was BBB, it became AAA. Now there is a potential way to aggregate some data sets, right? The idea is, if I want to try to get the X values, X1 values, the sum and the minimum, and for AAA as a group, and CCC as another group. And if you run that, as you can see, you can get AAA. The sum is 11 because 1 plus 10 is 11. The length, which is how many times it appears, the AAA, it appears twice. And also the minimum for AAA is 1, for CCC is 5. That's a complete pivot table. You can get it. Oh, some people can say, but this is just one-dimensional pivot table. You can add as many dimensions as you want. And you can add as many aggregation functions as you want. There's no limit. Even you can come up with your aggregation function that you can design in your Python. All right. Well, let me skip this because this might. Okay, this is an example. You got it right. I love basketball. So this is just the Wikipedia website where you can see a list of all the NBA champions. And the moment, if you want to read some data from Wikipedia, all you need to do is just put the URL, run this data set, and as you see, I have this data set, and this is pretty much the data. Well, as you see, this is the last couple of years. And I'm going to skip the last year, okay? Okay, so we have data. I named that because once you download the data from the web, it becomes a list of tables. So it goes to the website and it gathers all the tables one by one, and it puts those into a list. Now, empirically, I know it's number 5 is the data I'm interested in. And here's another question. If I would like to know how many times Greg Popovich made it to the finals, this is just one line of code. As you could see, data, And this is the condition. The condition says there are two coaches here, right? So there is one coach. Let me just hit head, so it will be easier to spot it. Yeah. So this is the year. This is the Western champion. This is the coach of the Western champion. This is the result of the finals. The Eastern champion, the coach of the Eastern champion, and this is the reference, which is not that interesting. Now, I would like to check if Greg Popovich showed up here or here. So it's very simple. You say data.coach.string. You need to make sure that it's a string, contains POP, and make the case sensitivity is false. I don't care if it's uppercase or lowercase. Now, if you have two coaches, they contain POP, then it will be picking both. And I'm saying this is for the Western coach and the Eastern coach. The moment you run it, well, you get an error. I don't know why. Let's see. Here we go. So as you can imagine, these are the times that Greg made it to the finals. As you see, it's only in the Western champion, not both. Okay. Well, let me skip this. I want to show you. This is probably yes, please. Oh, it's an OR. It's an OR. Good question. Connecting to MySQL. How can you connect Python with MySQL? So if the data is changing in the MySQL side, all your code is just to run with one click, if needed at all. Or if you want to be even more sophisticated, you can time it. You can say, run the script every first day of every Sunday or every Monday of the week, or every first day of the month. You can do that, and then you don't touch it. It's 100% automated. This is just a way how you can connect to MySQL. MySQL is sitting in this device. I'm running it. Well, it asks me for my password. Otherwise, I'll put that over there. You don't see my password, and the reason is I decided not to show you because I'm using one module called getPass, and the moment you turn it, run it, and now this is just a data that is still running. As you see, it's a quite large data set. This is a public data set, human resources. Everyone can download it. I'm not showing anything secretive here. And this is probably some of you are familiar with this data set. As you see, this is the data set we have. Now, if you would like to get, I'm just trying to remember what I'm trying to do here. Yeah, so if you want to know what are the types of each column, so let's do this, and I think it's df. So you do df.dtypes, and that tells you each column what it is. Employee number, it's an integer, 64. Birth date is an object. Oh, there's a problem. But don't worry, we can fix it. There is the first name, it's an object, which is string. Last name, gender, hire date. So there are two problems. The birth date needs to be a date time or date, and the hire date to be date time. So the way to do it, it's very simple. df.hiredate equal pd to date time of that column. So you are overwriting that column into a date time column. And once you run it, you get that. And also, I wanted to get what's the year of the hire. Year of hire. These are the years. By the way, this is really random data set, so you cannot take any information from here. It's a meaningless data set. Now, if I want to try to get, a pivot table according to this, because I wanted to know how many hires in each year broken down by gender, by year and by gender. And this is exactly the index. It's the gender and the year of hire. And I wanted to know what is the unique employees, because if someone is leaving and then they are rehired again, I don't want to count them again. I want to count them one time. And this is the reason why I'm using n unique, not len. It's just say, okay, get me this data set. That gets me those years. And the question is, I have females 1985, 86, 87, 88. But remember, the reason I'm getting those, because there is a where statement. How many of you SQL experts? Well, this is a SQL query, because I wanted to look at the years 1985 and 1988 inclusive, because it's a between operator. So as you see, I came up with this data, and then I said, okay, I want to try to plot the result, because it's much easier to spot. So that you can see how you can look at the data with changing, the fonts, how you can show a bar chart. The color is, with the legend, it says this is the female, this is the male, year after year. Now, your customer, no matter who is, says, no, I don't like the dates. Go back, change your query, and eliminate this query. Would you need to do all the manual work again? No, of course not. So you just run it. Well, you need to type the password because I don't want to show the password. Okay. Okay, and wait. As you see, this sign here, it says that it's still working on it. There are over 300,000 rows in this data set, and it's done. Now, all you need to do is just click, 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 and click, and click, and here we go. I did not touch the code, and suddenly you have all the data done for you. With that, I will stop here. Questions?
You scroll up, actually, I want to see that.
I said stop. Oh, I'm just kidding. Okay, this one here. Yeah. So this is just the visualization part. So let me go over this. Okay, just for a moment. So the first line. So the first line is just importing. Well, a couple lines. Up to the first two lines is importing the modules you need to use. The third is just the style of the visualization. 6 is you are building the canvas. 7 is you just do the bar chart. 8 is just removing the frame around the box. You don't want. This is the reason why I don't see a box here, a line here, and a line here. And 9 is just the title, which I love to do this. So if you want to change, not cursive, but like that, and then you will see it's completely different. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and then I can also block above that.
Oh, of course, of course, of course, of course. This is just a pivot table. That's this one here, right? The one before? Oh, maybe the connection to MySQL?
There we go.
That's the one. Yeah. Well, to be honest with you, once you know how to connect to your database, whether it's MySQL, Oracle, Microsoft SQL, any of the databases, it's just one time. You call that connection and run it. Yes, please.
What's the difference between Matplotlib or PyPlot and PyMath? You have PyMath.
Well, Matplotlib it's a huge module, and within that module there are sub modules, and I'm it's multiple layers. So I'm taking that one and importing it. Yeah. Excuse me. Yes, please.
So I do not have a very strong statistical background. I have some background. I'm primarily a management accountant with some exposure to math and stats. And I don't have any exposure to coding in the past. But realizing that some of these tools could be greatly helpful to me in finance function as well. So how much time I should devote to learn something like this meaningfully? How long is the program? How many hours per day?
I appreciate your question. As I mentioned in the beginning, the goal is not just to overwhelm you. I want you to see the bigger picture. It's not a journey of a week or one session. It's a journey. If you want to decide to go from doing boring, I'm talking in general. If you want to do the boring stuff, the things that you need, it's so essential to your job, into automation, this is the track. This is the roadmap. Now, the idea is not seeing the details, because even I have been using this for years and years, and sometimes I need to go and do some searches how to do 1, 2, 3. But the idea is, if you see how you can leverage these solutions into your daily work, that is exactly the win that you and I looking for. Now, it takes time, but all I'm saying, once you know what are the problems you can, or this tool is capable solving, then it will be much faster to master all those skills and techniques. Now, in my opinion, within probably I would say a couple weeks, it's very important to come ready for the next session. It's going to. I'm sharing usually all the material with the learners, and you always can refer to them in order to solve some problem. I don't know if I answered your question.
The session's small for how many hours?
And this is 4 sessions, each one 3 hours. Yeah, for the mini bootcamp. And there are 2 mini bootcamps. The first one will be really the basics of Python. The second one is how can you look at the data, combine data from different sources, how you can collect it, how can you create master files, how can you visualize it, all in automation.
So it's 3 hours per week, 3 hours
Yes.
sessions per week, and they happen over the weekend.
That's actually Anas can answer this question.
Sorry, I'm asking logistical questions, not technical ones.
Yeah.
Not intelligible enough to answer.
I think the idea is just to have the mini bootcamp on Mondays.
One more question.
So,
what are the days on which the bootcamp will be conducted? It's 3 hours per week. Yeah. Is it going to be okay? There are weekdays and weekends also. Yeah. Some have. It's 12 hours on the whole video. Yeah.
So each bootcamp is 3 hours using. So how much time do you think for catching up? Because it's a bootcamp. You're going to be so much of data.
Sure. If you well, here's my my thought. I think if you start applying this at your work, it will be way faster, because you know what's the end product would look like, and you're just taking a tool, you're adopting a tool into your daily work. As I mentioned, there are 3 components for applying data. You need to know the math and the stats. You need to know the domain, which I believe you know your domain. You know that because there's not a lot of math and stats. So all the missing part, which is the coding thing, and the coding thing is just a matter of get used to it. So probably within 2 months, you will feel very much comfortable, especially if you are applying that into your work. Yes, please.
Back to this particular screen that you got there, the where clause. If I want to change 1985 to be a input coming in an input, what would be the?
Let's try it. Let's try it. Okay. So all I'm saying in this case, so that's that. Okay, and then all you need to do and dot format, and then I need to do year 1, let's call it, and here I need to do year one equals input starting year equals. Would that work? Almost, because the input needs to be a string. So all you need to do is just an integer here and run it, and let's give it a try. So my SQL password. Now the starting year, which year you would like? 1980. I think they start at 1985, I believe, this data set. Let's say probably 1987.
Sure.
1987. And as you see, it's still running, didn't crash, which is good. and it's done. Now, as you see, 1987, you know what? We can run it. It's going to take just a second. So as you see, 1987 and 1988, which was the last year of the data set.
I noticed you put the word int in front of it. Without the word int, would it fail?
Not in this case, but be aware the input would get you a string, but not in this case because that query here, it's basically a string. So
I guess what I'm thinking of just more like cleaning, making sure the input going in is
yeah,
right format.
this is the way. That's format. Just use the format.
Okay.
And then put that thing here. Yes, please.
If you don't want the code in a Jupyter Notebook to be able to touch your file system, is there any way to set something so it can't do that? Read or write your file system?
You can open something in your file system.
Yeah, my question is, suppose you had some code that you didn't know where it came from. You wanted to run it in one of these Jupyter notebooks. Is there any way to prevent the notebook from reading or writing your file system?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Because I see this trusted thing there. I'm wondering, is there like an untrusted option or something?
Trusted. Yeah, that's a good question. Let me look here. What's trusted? To be honest with you, I don't know. I'm clicking on it. It doesn't show anything. But that's a good question. That's a good question. I don't know.
Because otherwise, if you had a huge Jupyter notebook and you just ran it, I mean, that's kind of like downloading an EXE and running it. I mean, you never know what it's going to do.
How big is that?
Huh?
How long is that?
Well, I mean, just say you download some Jupyter notebook from the web somewhere, and it had a lot of lines that you didn't look in each individual line. It'd be nice to be able to run it like you kind of run a web page, but you don't allow a web page to read and write your file system.
I see. I see your point. Let's try to be creative here. If you run it, yeah, I see your point. Probably you need to search for any specific directories. And then if there's a specific directory, imagine someone is trying to do some damage to your computer.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go, okay, go to this folder and do something. So usually if there's a path, you look for any path and try to test what's done, what it's going to do in that path. There is no, it's more, cybersecurity rather than anything else, right? There was a question here.
What is this? Is that the syntax to be used, the 3 single quotes after the query and the 3 single quotes before the variable is passed?
All right, let me show you. Basically, in Python, you could do is x equals x equals 1, 2, 3, x equals 1, 2, 3, x, and that's you get true. So it doesn't matter if you start with single quote, or double quote, or triple quote, or triple double quotes. There is not much difference. The most important thing, if you start with a single quote, you need to close it with a single quote. If you have double quote, close it with a double quote. It needs to be balanced.
Right.
But the rest doesn't matter.
So you just picked.
No, it's not exactly random there because SQL can have also single quotes
Yes.
So in order to avoid it, because you cannot have single quote and inside another single quote, so it's going to break that query. So that's why I said, okay, I'm starting with triple quotes my query, but it's exactly the same in terms of strings. Good question. Thank you. All right, so feel free to reach out to Anas if you are interested in the mini boot camps. And thank you for coming. This is usually to the